Why do people love and like to believe in conspiracy theories? Let's speak to Dr. Jovan Byford, Senior Lecturer in Psychology at the Open University and author of Conspiracy Theories, A Critical Introduction. Jovan, nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. I've long been fascinated by this because reading conspiracy theories can be quite entertaining. Of course, the world is flat. Man didn't land on the moon. There's all that kind of territory that has been around forever. The world is nigh, of course. The man with the sandwich board walking the streets. He's been doing that walk for many decades, and we're still here. And then we come on to something like this. What do you say, psychologically speaking, what is going on in the human mind that finds itself inclined to the disbelief rather than the obvious?
Well, I think first of all, conspiracy theories tend to flourish precisely in moments like the one that we're experiencing now, which is a global pandemic. So something unusual, unexpected appears that has huge social and political consequences. And the immediate impulse is to ask, well, why do bad things happen to good people? And conspiracy theories, which have developed over the last few hundred years as a explanatory discourse, offer a perfect answer to those questions, and in some sense a ready-made answer to the question about why bad things are happening by looking for the actions of the evil cabal that is supposedly behind whatever bad things are happening.
And is it all about trying to make sense of something? Because we're going through a fairly nonsensical time. That word unprecedented, which we've all used 1,000 times, it's an unprecedented time. Is it in part to make sense of confusion? Is it I was going to say, just in addition to that, is it also to, if you think your own life's a bit crackers, then fear not, because the world is mad as well.
I think there's a couple of things going on there that kind of contribute to the proliferation of conspiracy theories. First of all is that they make the world seem more controllable. And in some sense that might seem counterintuitive, because there is nothing particularly comforting about the idea that the world is run by evil people. But at the same time, there is nothing comforting about the essential randomness of a pandemic, so that a virus can jump from one species to the next, and a few weeks later, the whole world is in a lockdown. It is much more comforting to think that actually the coronavirus is caused by 5G technology or Bill Gates or so on, because it identifies a clear cause, and all you have to do is to uncover the conspiracy, remove this evil cabal behind it, and somehow all these bad things are going away. But I think there's another thing which I think is possibly even more important, and that is the psychological benefit that belief in conspiracy theories brings to those who promote them. And that is this idea that somebody has superior knowledge about how the world works.
Yeah.
In moments of crisis, you have this information becomes almost like a currency of power. So that believing that the whole world has been duped by the mainstream media, by politicians, by the medical establishment, and yet there is this heroic minority that has uncovered what is really going on, and that is a huge generator of self-esteem and makes some people feel incredibly good about themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of, the religion is in the Venn diagram, isn't it, here? Because it has a very similar response. There's a sort of an evangelical, and I've seen the light moment, isn't there, in that respect?
Absolutely, and I think your talk with Peter Ebdon was fascinating, because you can see that when you identify a particular counter argument, very often people who are claiming that their conspiratorial belief is based on evidence, facts, and so on, will often say, well, I don't believe in that at all. So it's ultimately a question of belief. It's a question of which source you're going to believe. So it is a question of whether you're going to believe Vernon Coleman or whether you're going to believe the World Health Organization. And ultimately, it's how one picks one's sources and how one chooses what they want to believe or not.
Yeah, and I think where I get even more confused is that because the World Health Organization is also written off as another conspiracy, of course, because it's a global organization, much like the United Nations, and these are all feeding organizations to neatly seal the one world order when it comes our way in a couple of years' time. But actually, even when you cite, I've interviewed Lord knows how many virologists and microbiologists, epidemiologists in the last few months for obvious reasons. Are all these guys all making it up as well in their laboratories?
Well, I think the key thing about what is happening now, which makes the proliferation of conspiracy theories all the more surprising, is that everything that we have seen the last 6 months is a huge advertisement for the cock-up theory of society, not a conspiracy theory of society. We have competing interests. We have people making mistakes. So the answer to the question why we are where we are now is not why somebody wanted it to happen, but why things happen the way that nobody wanted them to happen. And the curious thing about conspiracy theories is that they ignore all these kind of conflicts among scientists who can't agree on most things and so on, and see behind this orchestrated effort that requires the collusion between scientists from different countries, from different institutions, from different professions, and so on, into this vast conspiracy. But there is one more thing I just wanted to because you mentioned the way that recently people have identified a particular quote from sage advice and suggested that somehow proves that there is a conspiracy. That is actually a very good illustration of how conspiracy theories develop and how they work. Because what you will often find is that because conspiracy theorists by definition deal with imperfect evidence. If they had evidence that there is a conspiracy, there wouldn't be a conspiracy. The assumption of the conspiracy theory is that someone out there who is incredibly powerful is trying to conceal things. So what they will do is they are going to go into these various publicly available documents and almost try to decode them and find in them some trace that might potentially include some evidence. So that's why after 9/11, conspiracy theorists had no evidence except looking at videos and trying to identify something in the video that might be interpreted as sign of a conspiracy. And this is what we find again today. So people are going to look at Bill Gates's speeches from 10 years back and try to identify something that they can pin as evidence of a conspiracy and so on, usually by taking it out of context, misinterpreting it, completely misreading what was actually being told. And in terms of Bill Gates, basically every single statement that was being said by Bill Gates by conspiracy theorists, you can debunk it, and it has been debunked many times by fact-checking websites and so on.
It's almost the very opposite, isn't it, to how a proper criminal investigation should happen. The police and qualified investigators don't say, right, here's the answer, now let's find the evidence to fit the answer. They look for the evidence first,
well,
but of course with the conspiracy it's the reverse of that.
It's actually, I mean, investigative journalists, police, so on, they deal with conspiracies. So they deal with instances where people actually collude in order to bring about a desired outcome. However, where the difference lies between what they do and what conspiracy theorists do is that for them, the idea that there is a conspiracy is a hypothesis, and you have to find proof in order to demonstrate the hypothesis. For a conspiracy theorist, the idea that there is a conspiracy is unshakable principle and truth, and what they're looking for is evidence to fit the idea that there is a conspiracy, not the other way around.
And as you say, if there was the evidence, there would be no conspiracy, of course, which isn't half as much fun. Certainly not sitting here. Jovan, it's fabulous to talk to you. Thank you. Dr. Jovan Byford, Senior Lecturer in Psychology at the Open University and author of Conspiracy Theories, A Critical Introduction.